Good Sunday morning to all of you, and welcome to a very unusual Sunday video. Um, yeah, most bizarre. So, we're going to get into things because so much news was going on last night, and my phone was blowing up. I really didn't get a chance to watch the games in detail like I normally do to cover them and give you a summation. So, what I decided to do was what I usually do. Okay, I watch three games each night and kind of give you a detailed breakdown of them. The rest of the games I just highlight. I did check in with all of these games, but just, like 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there kind of a thing. So yeah, I'm not gonna do a detailed video on a game that I didn't watch. So that being said, we're gonna get right into it. Yeah, the Watertown Wolves. Unfortunately, they ended up kind of setting the tone for the night. Yep. Bus breaks down. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. So that game was postponed. And so we go to our next game, which was the Blue Ridge Bobcats taking on Carolina. Uh, Last time, four consecutive games going on between these two teams. And just like last weekend, the Carolina Thunderbirds find a way to avenge a Friday night defeat to come back and play a very strong game and win on Saturday. So this time it's a 4-1 win for the Carolina Thunderbirds. Now, when I recorded yesterday's video, at that point, stats had not been changed. I found out after the video that um, originally Roman Kramer on Friday night was originally credited with 2 goals, and they changed one of the Pastuca goals to a Kramer goal. So Kramer got a hat trick on Friday night, and normally I would mention that. Didn't get the memo until it was too late. But this time, I saw Gus Ford did get a video. Get a video. Yeah, because he's special. He is. Gus Ford gets a hat trick on the night. It's a 4-1 solid win for the Carolina Thunderbirds. Dyson Skinner gets the win for the Thunderbirds, stopping 22 of 23 shots. Skinner played 4 games, 2 games he started, and goals against average 1.00. Not a bad start to your career. Clay Keeley gets the game-winning goal. He gets the only Carolina goal not belonging to Ford, and it's the game winner at 7:34 of the third period on the power play. Attendance of 2950 on hand for that game. The Blue Ridge Bobcats fall to 2-3-1 on the year. Carolina is now 3-1-2. So then we travel to Binghamton with Danbury hat tricks. We're coming off a very tough overtime loss to the Watertown Wolves. And they decide to return the favor on the Black Bears. Actually, returning the favor on the Black Bears twice, because the last time these two teams met, it was an overtime victory for Binghamton. This time, it's a shootout win. 8 rounds. 8 rounds is what on. It's kind of like, will somebody score? Finally, Josh LaBelle in the 8th round gets a puck home past Connor McAnanima. It's the second time around we've had Connor versus Connor this year, and this time Connor McCullum ends up with the win for the Danbury hat tricks, saving 36 of 39. Really wasn't tested much in the first 2 periods. In the third, yeah, he was tested, but he came up with some really, really big saves. 36 of 39 plus 8, we'll call it. All right, so shuts the Black Bears down in the shootout period. The attendance 36-27 in this game. Danbury is now 3-1-2, and Binghamton falls to 6-1-1. All right, so there we go with that. Port Huron Prowlers and the Motor City Rockers, and the Battle of Michigan. Yeah, the Rockers might have the banner, but so far the Prowlers have the head start for this year in the battle for Michigan, winning 3-1 to sweep the weekend series. Yeah, some big news that we're going to talk about on the second half of this video. So, for the second straight night, it's Valtteri Nusiainen getting the win for the Prowlers, saving 31 of 32. Game-winning goal belongs to Lucas Lackney, who had a great weekend. Lackney scores at 19:18 of the second period, and the attendance was 1649. I believe, I'm going to have to check my records, but I believe that's the second largest crowd in the Rockers' history at Big Boy Arena. One ugly moment as late in the game, Port Huron's Michael Houlihan gets a 5-minute match penalty for spearing. He'll be looking at a suspension. I would imagine it'll probably get announced on Monday. If somehow the Prowlers were able to kill off the 5-minute major, and yeah, no harm, no foul on the scoreboard. But yeah, Houlihan will be looking to ask some additional discipline. All right, Motor City is now 2-4, while Port Huron Prowlers improved to 3-2-1. All right, and so we have the next game, the Mississippi SeaWolves and the Columbus River Dragons. And River Dragons have found the secret to success. Keep the puck out of the net. Pretty simple, as in 4 games now, Columbus has outscored their opponents 12-1. 1 goal allowed in 4 games. Crazy. So, yeah, this time the shutout belongs to William Lavalier, who just came down from the SP. He's here on a 4-game PTO. And he's going to make Coach Bouchard's decision as far as who he has in goal very difficult. When you have an abundance of riches, you don't want to let anybody go. But Lavalier made his stand last night and said, yeah, I belong here. So Kyle Moore scores the game-winning goal at 4:56 of the second period. And good crowd on hand, 39-31 on hand to see the Columbus River Dragons improve to 4-0, while Mississippi, who was scoreless on the weekend, not much fault of theirs, went one. They are now 1-4-1 on the year. All right. So then we have the Athens Rock Lobsters. This was actually the last game of the night as far as how it finished up, the time that it ended up. But the Rock Lobsters find a way. They were pushed to the limit by the Monroe Moccasins, but in overtime, in the shootout, the Athens Rock Lobsters end up with a 3-2 victory. Yeah, it was Kaysen Gallant scoring in the second round of the shootout. That was the game winner. That put things home. Josh Rosenzweig for the Rock Lobsters gets the win. I didn't mark the shots down in this. But anyway, yeah, Rosenzweig gets the win. And a great game played by Marcus Ekholm Rosen, but he needed one more save. Crowd of 5262 on hand. That's what was announced. It looked more like about 4,500, but 4,500, it's still a great crowd. Those are still tickets sold. Those are season ticket holders who, for one reason or another, couldn't get to the game. And that's what you go with. You go with ticket sales. So 5262 is the crowd for that game. All right, time to change the board up. All right, and there we go. Last game that we're covering. Quite quite an offensive performance by both teams, but the Baton Rouge Zydeco do hold off the Dashers in overtime 6-5. And this almost went to a shootout, too. Game winning goal scored by Kevin Zabad, 4:40 into overtime. So, yeah, we were getting down to the final few ticks. And finally, Zabad puts one home past Parker Rutherford, who had a pretty good game, saving 49 shots, I believe, or facing 49 shots. Brennan Colgan, though, he gets the win for the Zydeco. Saves 24-29. I'm sure he'd like to have a couple of those goals back, but some days that just happens. Crowd of 3,044 on hand. The Dashers are now 1-4-1, while Baton Rouge is 5-1-1. Yep, Baton Rouge 5-1-1. That is not an April Fool's joke. It's not April. I forgot to mention in the last game, Athens Rock Lobsters are now 7-1. They are the top team in the FPHL right now, record-wise. Monroe falls to 1-5-1. But I tell you what, this is just a case for the most part of the bounces aren't going your way because defensively and with goaltending, Monroe is a solid team. They are a very solid team. They're not going to stay at this record. I can assure you things are going to get better for Monroe. All right, so let's get into the news items. Of course, like I said earlier, Watertown kind of unfortunately set the tone for the night as their bus goes on the 15-day IR list. The Wolves only got like 45 minutes away from Watertown on their way down the Hudson Valley. The bus said, "You know what? I don't want to go." So the game it will be rescheduled at a future time. The game was not canceled. There was some confusion about that. The game will be made up at a later date. But this is the same old song and dance. And I don't mean necessarily for Watertown. This is the first time this year that the Watertown bus has broken down. But we've had several bus breakdowns throughout the league. Binghamton had one. Carolina, I believe, had one. Which, fortunately, that breakdown was pretty short and they were able to get back underway. Yeah, because it was on their way to Port Huron the opening weekend. So, this is just becoming a major problem. First part is buses are not made well, unfortunately. Mechanically, buses break down, and that is why I do not drive a bus. I stick to a truck. I actually looked into getting my bus credentials, and then when I researched things and found out how often buses broke down and how much time you waste on the side of the road, I said, you know what? That's not for me. So I want to give a huge shout out to all team bus drivers for doing everything that you do. It's not an easy job. And my hat is off to you guys. All right. So anyway, that is that. Hopefully things will go better next weekend. All right. For the Baton Rouge Zydeco, there was a lot of question. Andy Petzinger, who is the voice of the Zydeco, was not there, obviously. Now, I did not realize this. The announcement for this came last week when Andy Petzinger did the Zydeco's coaches show last Tuesday. Unfortunately, I didn't watch it, and neither did many other people, because a lot of Zydeco fans were like, where's Andy? He had a prior commitment, and so he was not going to be there these last two games. But Zydeco fans were thrown off by, well, why don't we have our guy? Where's our guy? So yeah, Petzinger is okay. He'll be back next weekend. Another shout out for the Dashers play-by-play man, Devin Dobek, who very aptly and ably handled, um, doing the call for both feeds. Basically, Baton Rouge kind of patched into Dobek's call, and even though it was on the Zydeco channel, you had Zydeco graphics and everything on the page. Yeah, it was Devin Dobek doing a very good job and acknowledging the Zydeco fans several times throughout both broadcasts, Friday and Saturday nights. So again, boy, he he got baptism by fire. First time calling hockey. He joins the Dashers, and then now he's doing two podcasts at once or two streams at once. Very well done by Devin Dobek. All right. As reported uh, in the opening pregame ceremonies and everything by Will Wiggleman on the Prowlers uh, network, yeah, Steve Shannon was fired by the Motor City Rockers late morning yesterday, before the game was even played. You saw Charlie Watson on the bench, kind of as the bench boss. He is the team GM, which a lot of people didn't have an idea because he's not listed on the team webpage. But yeah, Charlie Watson is the GM for the Rockers, and yeah, he kind of filled in as coach. Um, Under the stats for the game on the Fed page, it just acknowledged Jamie Milan, who is a player coach. So I don't know what's going to happen. We should find out within a couple days as far as what the Rockers are going to do next. But yes, D. Shannon was let go. And, I hate to talk bad about anybody, but I have found that the reaction to his firing was unanimous. Nobody was happy with this guy. And, it was just. I'm sorry, the Rockers didn't do the research. They kind of, Gordy Brown leaving kind of took them by surprise. So they just grabbed the straws and chose this guy. And, what a mistake. And then we saw a big difference in play last night. Motor City allowing 32 shots on goal, as opposed to the previous 5 games when they allowed 49 or more in every single game. Yeah, the team had some heart last night defensively. Didn't get the win, but they played much better. So, you go on the Rockers page, and Shannon's resume is inaccurate at best. He does not have 48 years of coaching experience. I'm sorry, he doesn't. Anyway, so the immediate results was the team played better, and they're going to be making a coaching change. But this is now the third change that has taken place since opening night. First, we had Monroe changing from Todd McElrath to Mo Levac. There are legal reasons for that. And then we had the situation early this last week in the Hudson Valley where Josh Newberg left the team, gave up his, or he was released as a coach, and MJ Merkel became the new head coach of the Hudson Valley Venom. And unfortunately, Merkel only had a chance to coach one game instead of two, because the wheels on the bus do not go round and round, apparently. So there you go. That is the wrap up. And again, I apologize for this being a very unusual video. We'll try and do things, hopefully get back to normal next week. Now, tomorrow is one of the videos I always enjoy doing, and that is Stars and Standings. Standings is kind of self-explanatory. We go over where things are in the standings right now, but also we choose the stars of the week, and I've got to whittle down 9 down to 5 because I choose 5 stars of the week. Extraordinary performers this last weekend, and I've got to figure out how to get this down to 5. So tune in for that. That is going to be airing tomorrow. And then we'll get on into the week and we'll see what else unfolds behind the scenes. One last thing I want to mention as far as news, what a dreadful week this was and a frustrating week for the transactions page on the Fed. There were just so many errors and irregularities and whatnot. And I'm not going to really get on a soapbox. I'm just going to offer this. FPHL, I'm sorry, you've got to do better. Please figure this out. All right. So that being said, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm Gary Ryan for the Fed League Flash. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. Again, thank you for bearing with the very unusual video today, because normally I don't do news videos on YouTube. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next time.